Hello, and welcome to the Between the Lines podcast. My name is Janine. I'm a clerk at the Winkler branch of South Central Regional Library.
And I'm Jess. I'm the branch administrator of the Winkler Library. So, in this podcast, what we do is, each book we break it up into two parts. The first part, we read the first half of the book, judge the cover, discuss why we chose the book that we did, and any predictions we have for the next half of the book. And then the second part, we, of course, read the second half of the book and discuss how we liked it, if we thought that it changed, too much, too little. So basically, our reasoning for doing this is, I don't know about you guys, but I sometimes like the book a lot less by the time I finished it, as opposed to halfway through. Or you like the book a lot more. The ending makes a lot of difference in terms of your final impressions of the book. So we thought it'd be interesting to get our impressions halfway through. There will be spoilers, and we would like to remind you that we are very opinionated, but all our opinions are just opinions. If you like the book and we don't like the book, totally fine. Vice versa, if we like the book and you think it's awful, I mean, by all means, comment, let us know. But it is all just opinion-based, and it's all in good fun. So, yeah, and with that, we get into the book.
For today's book, we've chosen Run, Rose, Run by Dolly Parton and James Patterson. From America's most beloved superstar and its greatest storyteller, a thriller about a young singer-songwriter on the rise and on the run, and determined to do whatever it takes to survive. Every song tells a story. She's a star on the rise, singing about the hard life behind her. She's also on the run. Find a future, lose a past. Nashville is where she's come to claim her destiny. It's also where the darkness she's fled might find her and destroy her. So, Jess, what are your thoughts? What were your first impressions of this book?
I wasn't sold by the first half, honestly. I am not a huge fan of the characters. They just didn't really click with me. The main character, Annie Lee, she should not ever be trusted with moving vehicles of any kind. She shoots at a guy that is driving an 18-wheeler while she is a passenger.
Yeah, and then she carjacks that 18-wheeler. Truck jacks?
Truck jacks? I'm gonna go truck jack.
Which, I mean, an 18-wheeler is not your regular car.
She just knows how to drive it and then drives it to Nashville, which, I'm sorry, I know how to drive a car. I'm a good driver, I say. Probably jinxing myself. I'll probably hit a deer on the way home. I do not know how to drive an 18-wheeler.
No.
That's not something that you just, pick up on the fly.
Nope.
So, yeah. And later, when she and Ethan are on the way back from New York or something, she just grabs the steering wheel while he's driving. And they nearly have an accident. She has no common sense when it comes to motor vehicles of any kind.
She seems to lack common sense in most areas of her life.
Yeah.
I would say she seems a little, to me, immature. Like, I'm just going to go to Nashville with no money, and I'm going to walk into a bar and say, hey, let me sing. And they're just going to let me. But you know what? They do. They do let her.
She just gets away with everything, and everybody's, a huge fan of her. Which I don't understand, because that's not how life works, and that's especially not how the music industry works.
No, and things keep turning out the right way for her in everything she does, except for the two men who keep showing up and beating her up. And it's just so random.
It is very random, and it is very aggravating, because they show up, they beat her up, and then they leave. There's no mention of, we want your money, or we want anything from you. It's just a beatdown. She does not call the cops. She does not make any effort to protect herself more. It's just, well, that happened, and then she moves on with life. And it's like, seriously?
Yeah,
That's not a normal response or reaction.
It's unrealistic in a way that
there's no indication of an increased fear level or anything. Like, I'm not judging survivors' responses, because responses to trauma are different, and everybody will have different responses. But I'd argue 95% of them would have a response. She doesn't.
No.
There's no, I'm going to put an extra lock on the door, or I'm going to get some pepper spray, or even, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, well, okay. And
or even though I have an alternate place to live, I'm still going to stay at this seedy motel where they found me the first time and not go somewhere else that might be safer.
Exactly.
Because I have to prove that I can do it on my own.
Yeah. And I do want to criticize the bad guys a bit too. Not because of their beating her up, which I mean, it's bad, don't get me wrong. Who just beats somebody up and then doesn't even ask them for anything? Leaves their wallet, leaves their everything.
Just takes off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird. That's not how bad guys generally work.
No. This book is billed as a thriller. So far, I'm not too thrilled.
I'm not thrilled by it. I'm more aggravated by it than anything else.
Yes.
Because she shows up in Nashville and walks into a bar and it's owned by one of the biggest country music stars of the generation.
Like a Reba McEntire-esque person.
Yeah.
For those of you who know country music.
Yeah. And she badgers the bartender into letting her play. She borrows a guitar, plays, and gets like a standing ovation. And then they want her back. And one of the guys that is at the bar, first time she plays, is a studio musician for this Reba McEntire-esque character. I forget her name.
Ruthanna.
Ruthanna, right. And he tells Ruthanna that she has to see this person. And basically within, like, a week of showing up in Nashville, she's got one of the biggest names in country music saying, "You're fantastic, you're awesome, you're great." And it was a week too that she's like, "You should come live in my house."
Yeah, I think.
It was like the second time that she met her that she's going, "You need to come and live with me."
Or was it even the first time?
It wasn't the first time.
Okay.
First time I think little Amy Lee walked out.
Okay.
Because that chick has a temper.
She does. She is stubborn.
Like, not a temper that's justified.
No.
I'd argue.
But
like,
maybe there's a bombshell at the end that will tell us why she has a temper.
It's the number of times she gets mad at people for saying that she's short. You're short, honey.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
How else do you want us to say short? Vertically challenged?
Exactly.
It's all the same.
Like, and not even like making fun of her for being short. Just let me grab it for you. You're short.
Yeah.
Like, she just gets really, really mad at people. It's like, you need to come to terms with this because you can't go through the rest of your life getting mad every time somebody goes, "You're short."
Yeah. And like you were saying before too, that all these things happening within a week. She goes into a coffee shop and somebody recognizes her from one of the bars that she was at. Like, yeah, that's, I don't know.
Like, they record one song of hers and it's like 20-something on country music charts, and like immediately hits the charts.
Yeah.
First song that she's ever recorded without a recording contract, without promotion. This girl does not even have social media.
Yeah. Nothing. She's basically a nobody.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like to read books to escape real life, and I understand that fiction is things that don't happen in real life, but this is too far to the other side of, like, it can't just be all. There has to still be an aspect of real life in there. Like, this is
borderline utopian dystopic fiction.
I don't know if I would go quite that far, but it just seems like, okay, at the beginning, she is sleeping in a park. Fine, that's not ideal, right? She's on the run, she doesn't have a lot of money. Not ideal, but then she gets to Nashville and this works out and this works out and the next thing, and it's just like from one thing to the next, everything just goes her way.
Yeah.
And so it's just to the point where it's unbelievable.
That's the thing, and it's unbelievable in a way that takes you out of the story. Like, there's some things where you're going, okay, that's a bit, whatever.
Yeah.
But you can understand because it's a plot device to keep the story moving and, yada, yada, yada. And it's not. Like, this, it's just, everything is going perfectly for her.
Every time.
Every time. Yeah. Granted, she's on the run. We don't know what she's on the run from. She's just running.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's not great.
No. And they keep talking about all these big secrets and whatever. But it's like, is there? What's it going to be? Mm-hmm. It's going to have to be a pretty big bombshell to redeem this story for me, I feel like, at this point.
I don't know. I feel like the bombshell's not going to be much bombshell. Like, so far, it's been... It almost reads like a non-fiction book. in a way, because it's not a story, it's an accounting of events. It's, I did this, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I don't know how to explain it in such a way that it makes sense. Most books I read, might not be all books, have kind of an up and down flow of like, things are happening, and then things are calming down again. Things are happening, and then things are calming down again. And things are happening, and then there's nothing happening in this book.
I literally wrote down the word yawn in my notes when I was reading this, so...
It was more boring than anything else.
Honestly, it's not thriller. It's not a thriller so far.
No.
And if you look at, like, the cover, it doesn't look like a thriller. It looks like... I don't know why they thought this was a thriller.
I question that categorization.
I also do. And is it because James Patterson often writes thrillers that they would just... Well, it must be a thriller because it's got James Patterson's name on it.
Maybe.
I don't know. But it's not... Like, to me, when I'm reading a thriller, I can't put the book down. Like,
There's
a good thriller.
Something.
Yeah. Keeps you going.
Exactly.
And this, like, okay, sure, there's something obviously in her past that we don't know about.
Yeah, but so far the only thing that's kept me reading this book is the fact that I had to read the book for the podcast. Like, if it was just me reading this book for the enjoyment of it, I would have put it down.
Yeah, I might not have finished it either. I might have stopped reading it also.
Yeah. You want to talk about the other characters, impressions?
Ethan is dull.
I would also use a word that starts with D but ends in different letters. I don't like him.
No.
I really don't. He's not a good character. He's boring in that he basically just follows her around.
Yeah.
Seems to have no interest in actually getting his own career. And not even a career in music.
No.
Like, even a career as a studio musician, he seems just kind of be like, whatever.
Yeah, and he clearly, according to the book, has talent.
Yeah.
But he seems to not want to use his talent.
And that's fine if you want to go be a fireman or something. Great, fantastic, whatever. But he doesn't seem to really care about anything.
I find that a frustrating trait in people who have skills or are smart and they just don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have a lot of potential. You could do so many things. Why aren't you using your, like... It's frustrating for me. I've clearly had experience with these types of people in my life.
Well, I mean, there's that saying of if you love something, don't make it your career.
Yeah.
Because it will ruin it for you.
Yeah.
And I get that, and I understand that, but there was nothing that he seemed to really like. There was nothing that was his thing.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's got their thing. And it's stupid luck and don't let her in a truck. But... but, like, he seemed to exist mainly just to follow her around and to be a handy go-between.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And so I don't like the guy.
No.
But on the way back from New York, he leaves her on the side of the road.
Yes.
Like,
you just don't do that.
You just don't do that.
I mean, it's partly her fault because she would not get back in the truck.
But you don't just leave somebody on the side of the road. Like, this is right after they were chased by a couple of presumably bad guys, because good guys tend not to chase you.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a character, he reminded me more of a puppy dog that follows her around than a character of his own right.
Yeah. I like the bartender.
The bartender was fun.
He was fun.
And
he
only shows up in, like, what, 2-3 times in the book?
Yeah, and just in the beginning. I feel like Ruth Anna's character had potential. I don't think they did her justice.
No.
So far.
All the characters are very one-dimensional at this point. Maybe they get fleshed out a bit more second half and kind of, dig into the motivations and stuff behind them. I'll give it time. But right now they are very much... If you had to write down what this character was on a piece of paper, it's like, Annie Lee. Run away.
Yeah.
Does music.
Stubborn.
Short, but don't mention it.
Immature.
Very immature.
And worthy of an eye-rolling drawing, which I also put in my notes.
Yes. I started putting emojis in my notes because my notes were getting very sarcastic. I don't know. I am so far not liking this book.
It's been a little more of a struggle than I thought it would be. I've never really read much James Patterson.
Patterson.
I did read one. I think it was called Woman of God or something like that. And that one was interesting. But I thought, oh, it's Dolly Parton, and who doesn't love Dolly?
Exactly. I read the book more for Dolly Parton than I did for James Patterson.
Yeah. But it's curious to me, I wonder how do two people write a book together, and who writes what? Do any of them do any of the writing, or is there a ghostwriter who's doing it all and they're just putting their names on it? So, I don't know. I feel like I have to apologize to Dolly Parton, who will never hear this.
Yes.
But
I'm sorry, Dolly.
I still love you, Dolly.
Don't deserve her, James. Oh, yeah. No, I have a feeling I'm going to be quite aggravated by the second half if a lot of things don't change. Because right now, I don't like any of the characters. Billy, the bartender, he's about the best so far.
And that's sad because he is a very tiny, tiny, tiny part of the story.
He's basically, here's some fries. You can play the guitar if you want.
Yeah.
On
a few occasions.
There's not much more than that.
No. It happens on multiple times, but that's basically the extent. I mean, they joke around and, they have good banter. I will say that. Mm-hmm. He and Annie Lee have a pretty good banter going, but she's just
not a character you can get behind. And that's the thing. I like it if characters have some sort of challenge they can face. It's like the whole, in English class, when you learn about how to write a story and character arc and that kind of thing, there's generally a point where a character has to face a challenge of some kind, overcome it, and then go on.
Yes, but that's what this whole book is about.
But there's no challenges. There's no challenges.
Because everything just works out.
Okay, here you go. Oh, you're fantastic. You're wonderful. Let me put you on the radio.
Yeah.
That's not a challenge. A challenge is having to play in awful dive bars and for a while,
pay your
not
dues.
Just a week or two.
Yeah, pay your dues, right?
And she shows up with these songs, and admittedly, I don't write music. I don't totally know, but my understanding, based on what other musicians have said, and real ones, that you don't just write a song. It goes through revisions, it goes through edits, it goes through changes. She shows up with these songs, and everybody goes, that is the most wonderful thing I've ever heard. I love it exactly as it is. Don't change a thing.
Yeah.
No, that it's not believable.
No.
And especially, the music industry isn't exactly well, we don't know what the CIA really does, because it's the CIA. Yeah. It's the music industry. Mm-hmm. There's a billion musician biographies out there. Even more people that haven't made it because it is a difficult industry. I don't think this book is representing it fairly.
No, this would be maybe a one-off, really lucky person.
Maybe.
But this is not typical. And I guess I struggle because, I read fantasy. That's not typical. But yet
But the characters have challenges that they face.
Yes, they do. And I don't know, it's just, I know that it's not supposed to be real. Mm-hmm. Right? A fantasy book is something that would never happen.
Yeah, no, right? I am unfortunately nowhere near to getting my own spaceship.
Yeah. But this is something that could happen. This could be a real person. Mm-hmm. But it could, it's just so far beyond what might happen in anybody's life.
She's written more like an android than she is like a real person. Huh. An android responds, to being attacked. It does not respond with emotion. It may not respond at all, depending on its programming.
Yeah.
An android might think that it knows how to drive a vehicle better than you. That's Annie.
Well,
I don't know.
And maybe there's something big coming. She's obviously running away from something. Although the book is called Run, Rose, Run, not Run, Annie Lee, Run.
Yeah.
Which should be a pretty big dead giveaway that her name is actually Rose. But who knows?
It's pretty obvious.
Prediction alert.
There's no other roses in the book anywhere.
No.
There's not even oh, my mother was named Rose.
Yeah.
Or my dog was named Rose. Or look, I found a rose. No, there's no other mention of Rose in this book at all.
And it sounds I feel when one of the times when the men came to beat her up, they called her Rose.
It's we're here for your daily beating. She sounds yes, I have a weekly standing appointment.
Okay. Yes. No, but I feel like one of them said the name Rose at one point, so I think
you might be right on that, yeah.
because I wrote down Rose ? But yeah, it's just I have high hopes for half 2.
I really hope it's one of those where it's like it takes a bit to get into it, and you're kind of going, I don't know. But then, second half, they just knock it out of the park. I hope that. I don't have high hopes for that. I don't like James Patterson. I haven't read his books, but I disagree with his basic method of writing. And this book has so far not changed that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Final thoughts for part 1 before we move on to part 2?
Well, for me, part 1 was a bit of a yawn. I'm hoping for more in part 2.
Yeah. I have a feeling I'm going to get quite ranty in part 2.
Yeah, I just hope there's something that makes it interesting enough to make it to the end.
Yeah, like right now, I don't like any of the characters. I don't like the story. I don't like the premise, the setup, the plot, what there is of it. Yeah, it's not for me right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, hopefully second half is better, and yeah, we'll see you in the second half. Hopefully something changes. So, all right, we'll be back in, well, however long it takes for us to read that. Bye.
Bye.
And we're back with part 3 of Run, Rose, Run.
So we have finished the book now. We'll be discussing our impressions of the book now that we've actually finished it and the relief thereof, and any surprises or twists, and basically general impressions of the book. So, Janine, what did you think?
First of all, beware, spoilers ahead. What did I think? Well, I can honestly say I didn't see that coming, is what I wrote down in my notes. Her being married. I did not see that part coming at all.
She wasn't.
Wasn't she married?
I don't think she was, because she said later that she told, because the kid said that it was Gus was her husband.
Oh.
But then she said later that she told her stepfather,
right,
that they had eloped so that she could get out of his house.
Okay, right. But the quote-unquote marriage and the trafficking part, I didn't see that part coming either. I figured it was something like, I was thinking rape or abuse or something like that, like standard. And so that part for me was a bit of a, oh, okay. So it was, you have some thoughts.
I was going, was it technically trafficking?
Well, that's what it sounded like, because they were in a room and it sounded like they were...
Yeah, it sounded like he had 3 women that he just moved from various locations.
I guess you wouldn't call that trafficking.
I mean,
what would you call it?
Not husband sold her to the guy. So, is that trafficking? We'll call it trafficking for the sake of argument, but I do have questions as to the technicality of trafficking.
Okay. For lack of a better term, that's what I... Like, not like he was selling her and she, like, somebody who was taking her away somewhere else. And so, the other thing I thought was, it was a very slow build to all of the excitement in, like, the last 50 pages. Quote-unquote excitement. So it just felt very, like, abrupt to me. Like, here we are, trucking along, and all of a sudden, boom, and then the book's over.
Well, that's the thing. It kind of felt like somebody went, oh, shoot, I've got a word count, and I've got to stop here. And they just desperately tried to get in the last couple plot points.
Yeah.
Which,
so...
I don't know. There was a lot that happened in the last part.
There was. Like, I feel like the bulk of the most interesting stuff happened in the last part, as far as I'm concerned. Overall, not a terrible book. A little more interesting towards the end. For me, it wasn't a terrible book. Not a favorite by any means.
No.
But, would I read another James Patterson? Maybe.
The thing that gets me is, it was billed as a thriller. It is not a thriller.
I also thought that too.
This is the least thrilling book I've ever read.
I would say thriller adjacent-ish.
I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't. There's no thriller elements to it.
Well, there's the jumping out of the window, and
we're gonna get to that part. Trust me. I have issues.
And I mean, like, you know, Flight from Las Vegas.
Reminds me.
Like the Escaping Las Vegas. Not flight as in plane.
I have issues with that too.
Okay, I'm just saying that some people could consider it. You might not consider it a thriller. I might not. It's thriller light, maybe.
I would say it's more mystery than thriller. It's not super mysterious.
Would you call it a mystery, though? Suspense?
Suspense might be better. Suspense is better. It's not a thriller, because thriller implies at some point I'm emotionally invested. And I'm not.
Okay. Well, for you, this was not a great book.
I was not a fan. I just know. I'm sorry. I tried liking it. I really did. I figured, okay, well, for Dolly Parton's sake, I have to give it a fair shot. But it is not well written.
Yeah.
The plot does nothing for 3/4 of the book, and then races through everything else, but doesn't give you any details about anything else.
Yeah. I mean, the plot does some things, it just does them very slowly.
But like the quote-unquote trafficking. Literally, what we've just said is basically as much as the book covered.
Yeah. That's true. It was very abrupt.
Being her entire inspiration to, or entire reason for running away, and changing her name and everything, like, they didn't cover it.
No.
Like, don't get me wrong, I don't want all the gory details, but she basically went, yeah, my not-husband sold me to a guy, and I was kept in a room, and we moved to 4 different locations with 3 other women, and there's no mention of, did this guy do anything other than keep you in the room?
Yeah.
Like,
you're just kind of left to assume, right?
Yeah. Like, there's no, they don't even hint towards, was there anything done to you other than being kept in a room?
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
so I guess
I went back and reread it because I'm like, am I missing something? And no, there's just nothing there.
Yeah. Well, and it was like this escape from Las Vegas, and she's on this big journey and like hitchhiking, and then he's following her. The guy whose name I can't remember.
Ethan.
Ethan is following her, trying to catch up with her once he realizes that she's gone. And then they get to this place. He finds her dad, right?
He finds her dad, yeah.
Yeah, before her dad knows that she's there. And then he manages to find her, and then essentially it's kind of like a fight scene, and then she goes to the police station and tells them what happens, and that's the end. And there's nothing else.
There's nothing else. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the basic plot. Should we just start at the beginning of the middle half? So we kind of jumped towards the end of the middle half, or the end of the last part. Because when we ended off, she basically got a recording contract and was still living in a motel.
Yeah.
She moved out of the motel. She was on her way back from New York, was it?
No, the New York part was the first half. She had a...
she
was an opening act for something.
No, I'm thinking before that. She and Ethan came back from somewhere anyway. And they were being tailed by a black truck. Now, I maintain that Annie Lee should never ever be allowed to be in a vehicle without a straitjacket. Because they are being chased by a black truck. She reaches over and grabs the wheel of the truck, and it wasn't entirely clear, go off the road or something. And then the truck just leaves, which, I mean, personally, if I'm going through the bother of following somebody around, I don't just leave. But,
yeah.
What kind of move is that? What are you thinking? You don't do that.
Yeah. I was just going to say there was a lot of, like, tailing when they were driving.
Yeah. I think it's to add to the suspense that was not suspenseful, because it certainly wasn't thrilling. But then, Ethan, I'm sorry, I have moved into, what is he doing here? Into active dislike. After they were just followed by a truck, after she was attacked 3 times, what does he do? He leaves her on the side of the road.
That is
true. And she has to hitchhike back.
Not entirely his fault. She did get out of the truck.
She did get out of the truck, but I don't care. You don't do that. If you don't want to be stuck in a car with her, you wait, or you make sure she gets a ride home. Like, just basic. Because they keep going, oh, you know, he's such a good guy. Good guys don't leave you on the side of the highway after you were just followed by someone who's presumably trying to do you some kind of criminal intent.
Yes, true.
I'm sorry, I don't like this guy.
You're pretty worked up at this point, I feel like.
Oh, it gets worse.
Oh, boy.
After that, she gets a chance to do an opening act for some other big famous guy who's like the top recording artist of the previous year. Which Ruthann tells her not to do.
Yeah, that part bugged me because I was like, everybody's got to start somewhere. You can't just be a headliner right off the bat.
Exactly. It's just basically going, no, you shouldn't do it because you're better than that.
You're better than that. Like, she kept telling her she was better than that.
No, you're
all
not.
the time. No, you have to start at the bottom. That's the way it works.
The only live shows you've done so far is playing in dive bars.
Yeah.
Now you're opening for one of the biggest acts out there?
Yeah.
That's not nothing.
Nope.
But
it's not. That was another thing. Why do things keep working out for her?
Exactly.
Like, over and over and over and over. Until the end, when suddenly she's jumping through a window.
Yeah.
And even then, she survives the fall.
Even then, she survives the fall. But, like, she only did the one opening act for the guy because he didn't want her back because she was too good. Even her only knockdown, as it were, is because everybody thinks she's too good and the guy didn't want the attention away from him, is what we're assuming. There's no kind of reality to it.
Yeah.
No one's life is that consistently good.
Well, one could argue that this is fiction and people read fiction as an escape, and so perhaps it's written to, like, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I know that's maybe not how everybody reads books, but some people just read it for fun, right? As enjoyment and...
But if there's no kind of realism to it, it takes you out of the story because you're going, that would never happen. Because it's not fantasy, it's not science fiction, it's not a specific genre.
No.
Like,
I would almost say more romance than anything
it
else,
is almost more romance, although they don't even hold hands, so is it romance? That's the thing. I'm having a hard time classifying this book. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Because it's not enough of anything to be one thing.
Yeah, that's true. It is just sort of like they made an outline and they sat down and they wrote it, and
their editors were too scared of their big names to tell them to go back and rewrite it.
Having said all that, I'm sure that there are people out there who enjoyed this book.
Oh, I'm sure.
That, did I hate it? Not really. Did I love it? Also not really.
See, that's the thing. Is it a book? Yes, it is. Do I like it? No, I do not. If you like it, by all means, go for it. There are things that I like terrible books, terrible TV shows. Nobody understands it.
Yeah. Well,
I like it because it's terrible.
Everybody has their guilty pleasures, right?
This is just, to me, the one thing I do not like, whether it be books, movies, TV shows, reality, boring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main thing that this book was, I found was boring. And that's my main reason for the dislike of it. If you like books that have a bit of a slower pace, by all means, great, go for it.
Yeah, the pacing was really slow.
But for me, it was difficult.
Once I got to, the last maybe 100 pages, I really started to, power through. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little better. If it would have been like that the entire time,
if they started with the last part and then built from there.
Yes.
That would have been better.
Yes.
Then we had something to work off.
Yeah, but, it just... So much of what was happening also didn't make sense. These random guys kept showing up.
Yeah.
And of course they wanted the mystery of, her past, right? So, I don't know. Maybe they were trying to keep it mysterious and suspenseful, obviously, right?
That's what they were trying, yes.
I don't think it really works, personally.
No, because there's a point where there's no suspense in the attacks if the main characters themselves aren't taking it seriously.
Yeah. Because
they've been attacked 3 times, tailed at least once, and they've never reported it to the cops or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're not taking it seriously, so why should I?
Well, and not only that, but, she knows it's not random attacks, right?
Yeah, no.
She knows exactly what it's about.
Exactly.
And so the only thing is that the reader doesn't know.
Yeah.
So I think, if it was why are these people coming after me? And then there's some, I don't know.
If they had just, a little bit more revealed each time, because, this, for whatever reason, with each attack, you get a little bit more information. That'd be something else, but it's just attack, whack, okay, bye.
Yeah. We're going to attack her and then we're going to run away.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back and do it all over again. 2 more times.
Exactly.
And then we're going to start tailing her wherever she goes. Yeah.
It's just kind of blah.
It's funny because when I finished, I was like, okay, well, that wasn't as horrible as I thought, but the more I sit and talk with you, the more I'm like,
I'm sorry.
It was really terrible.
I've converted you. Anybody that likes this, don't listen to this, because I will convert you.
You have some valid points for sure. It's not... Well, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Good. No, feel free to disagree. Next point.
Okay.
Ethan, again, I'm sorry. Beginning of the book, I was just bored by him. Now I really don't like him. After he leaves her on the side of the road, after she was just followed by someone meaning to do her harm, he just shows up and gives her a handmade guitar.
Yeah.
He doesn't apologize. I shouldn't say he doesn't apologize. She apologizes to him, and he goes, oh yeah, I'm sorry too.
He's a bit of a tool.
They try to make him the good guy, and he is so not the good guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
Yep. That's really all you can say.
It's an aggravating book.
Yes. There are things about it that are definitely aggravating.
Speaking of the attacks, she has a gun.
Mm-hmm.
She's attacked 3 times, tailed at least once, I think maybe twice by that stage.
Twice.
Does she pull out the gun during any of this? Is there any mention of her getting it out of her bag, putting it beside her, easily accessible, anything? No.
What does she do instead? Uses her stiletto.
And we only find out that she has a gun because somebody commented, I know who you are, on a social media post. People actually, in real life, meaning to do her physical harm, no gun. Somebody going, I know who you are, on a social media post. Then we have to get out the big guns.
Yeah.
How does that make sense? I question the character's sanity, honestly, at stages.
Well,
because they keep going on about how, she's had a hard life, this and that, and all that other stuff. But the decisions that she's making don't make sense. Like, they're not logical, whether it's coming from a standpoint of fear or concern for her well-being, or just annoyed at these people that keep attacking her. And the thing is, it wasn't a threatening comment. Like, commenting, I know who you are, on social media when you are an up-and-coming person could very simply be, hey, I recognize you. Not a, I know what you did last summer.
That's true. Although, to play devil's advocate,
by all means,
neither of us have ever been in a situation like this, at least that I know of for you, where you're running, where you're running from your past. So maybe when you're in that situation, what you do is not always logical.
I can understand her being freaked out by a comment like that.
Yeah.
I just question her response to, oh, finally, this is the point we get the gun out? Not after attack 1, 2, 3, or tailing.
But maybe it's like, maybe if I just pretend it's not happening, it will stop happening. Or...
I'm pretty sure I'd stop thinking that after the second attack.
Well, maybe. But maybe when you're in that situation, you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to pretend that this isn't happening so that maybe it won't be happening.
I was making notes as I went through this whole thing. And I'd write down the things that infuriate me and then continue on reading. And I did write a positive thing. The pace was picking up a bit. So I do have a positive thing to say.
Also,
it was difficult.
Also, the dolphin yoga, right? That was...
And the dolphin yoga, yes. Ruth Ann gets invited to go to dolphin yoga, which I am intrigued about and will be doing further research.
Absolutely, I'm on board with that, yes. Dolphins are cute and soothing.
Yes, I have some dolphin facts that are not quite so cute, but yes.
Okay, well, from afar, dolphins just look like they're always smiling.
They do.
And so they just look like a friendly animal. I know that they're probably vicious, but I don't care.
Yep, they're interesting creatures, put it that way. Anyway, another thing that they really just don't go into and totally skip over. Ethan was accused of murdering his ex-wife.
Yeah.
They just kind of go, oh, gloss over that, and Annie Lee just goes, oh yeah, I already knew. And then that's just the end of it.
Yeah.
He spent 6 months in jail awaiting trial because he came home one day and his wife was strangled and he was the chief suspect. And it's just, oh yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah. That was...
Random?
A little random.
It's like they kind of went, oh, characters started to fall a little bit, but oh, we'll just add a random murder in there.
He needs to also have a past.
Yeah, they did mention the army thing a few times.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of that.
Yeah. We just didn't really care for Ethan.
I don't think
that's it.
I have more things to say about Ethan.
Okay.
But we will get to there in due time. But yeah. Then she's in Vegas and she gets attacked. And she decides the best course of action is to stab the guy in the eye with a stiletto.
Yes.
I will commend that. That is the positive thing I have to say. Use the weapons you have at hand. I've always thought stilettos would be a great weapon.
Also,
I cannot disagree with her use of one. I think that is excellent.
You'd probably rather use it as a weapon than as footwear.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
I think they are torture devices and should only be used as thus.
For me, that was really a vomit-inducing scene, for being totally honest.
I can appreciate that she used it. I do have a quibble with it, in that Ethan picks it up later. We're going to skip over the entire messing with the crime scene thing. He picks it up later, and despite the fact the guy was stabbed in the eye with it, there appears to be very little on the shoe.
Yeah. And so did the guy just pull it right out of his eye? Because probably also not a good idea.
That's the thing. There wasn't a whole lot of details. Now, I'm not saying you have to be gory about it, but
it's gory enough.
Generally, if there's a fight scene of some kind, it's I hit him with a shoe. He yelled, ow, and screamed back, and that gave me the chance to escape. Or he's running after me with a shoe in his face. There's generally some kind of, this is what the villain did in response to the main character's actions. And there wasn't really.
Yeah.
But yes, stiletto, I approve. Then she decides to jump off a balcony, and I stopped approving.
Yeah, that was dumb.
You're telling me the only way you can get out of this room is jumping off a 4-story balcony? Really? You had another shoe. They came in a pair. Oh. Was it really necessary?
I mean, for the action part, yes.
For the action part, but it kind of felt a little bit like they wrote the jumping off the balcony scene first, and then went, oh shoot, we really have to figure out where she jumps off the balcony. We really have to make her jump off the balcony. She jumps off. She crashes through the glass awning thing. Okay. If you're jumping from that height, something breaking your fall would probably mean that you survive. However, and I looked at the statistics for this because it made me mad. From 4 stories has a 50% death rate, and it's rather unlikely that you're going to walk away with nothing but scratches. Because that's what happened with her. She walked away with pretty much just a couple of scratches. No broken bones. Her face was apparently fine. She literally just left the hospital like the next day.
Yeah. She just walked out. No big deal.
No! That's not how gravity works.
In the real world. Maybe gravity works differently for James Patterson.
That could be it.
Yes.
I'm not saying it can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying that everything goes right for her, including jumping out of a 4-story window with no serious damage and landing on a glass awning where you should have, like, they literally said a few scratches. You should be cut up.
Yes.
Like, there should be lacerations.
Glass embedded in your body.
Exactly.
For sure.
You should not be feeling well enough, based on the impact and the scratches and cuts and stuff that you should have, to leave the hospital the next day and hitchhike across country.
Yeah. Although I would argue the fact that she found herself in a situation where she had to jump out of a window would mean that maybe not everything is going right for her.
It does start to go a little bit wrong, but still, most people would be dead.
Yes. No, things seem to work out in her favor.
Every time.
Yeah, that is true. I mean...
She goes on a tour and she's selling out 10,000-seat venues.
Yeah.
Like...
From being basically unknown.
Yeah.
And that doesn't usually happen in the real world.
No, it's very, very unlikely. And I know everybody says, oh, she sings so well, and yada, 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 yada.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Now, did you listen to any of the songs from the album?
I did.
What did you think? I didn't listen to any of it. Now, are you a Dolly Parton fan?
I do like Dolly Parton.
Okay. But you did not enjoy these songs?
They felt forced.
Okay. Well,
there were 2 of them that I liked.
Okay.
But the rest were... The singing style didn't match the music kind of a thing. And it just kind of...
She does all the singing, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, she's got a couple male vocals as well.
Okay.
She obviously doesn't sing. But it's... For being the songs that have apparently propelled this character's career to stardom,
it's not an album you would buy.
Not an album I would buy. There's 2 songs I didn't mind. But that's about it. And considering they keep going on about how pretty much every single song that she writes is a hit.
Yeah.
No.
But that's a really subjective thing to say also, right?
Well,
music is very personal.
Mm-hmm.
So...
It wasn't that the songs were bad, just in the context of the story. Everybody keeps talking about how these songs are fantastic and, you know, never a wrong note. They're good, they're just not that good. It's still Dolly Parton.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not horrible.
Right.
But they're just not as good as the book tries to make them be. Okay. That's my opinion. Among all of the other opinions I have.
What? Just has an opinion?
No, shocking. Should be said, this is my personal opinion. If you like it, more power to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's books that I'm going to like that everybody else is going to go, this is absolute utter terribleness. What is wrong with you? And to that I can only say, so much is wrong with me.
But also, I mean, we realize there's a book for every reader, right? Oh, yeah. And so, not everybody's going to love every book.
No.
This one, for us, wasn't a winner.
No.
Unfortunately.
No, it was not.
But, I mean, am I glad to say now I finally read a James Patterson? I'm not so sure.
I'm glad that I checked it off the list. I honestly don't think that this is not made me want to read another James Patterson. Or at least not adult fiction James Patterson.
I have to say, though, I am a little curious about the Bill Clinton ones.
Those do look like they're a bit more thriller
Yeah.
based.
There was a copy of one at the book sale, which I almost bought, but didn't, because I was like, maybe I'll just check this one out.
Didn't Hillary Clinton write a book with someone?
Louise Penny.
Louise Penny. We should do that.
We should do that.
What we should do is read the Bill Clinton book, and then read the Hillary Clinton book, and evaluate which one of them's a better writer, or which one of them hired a better ghostwriter.
Let's do that.
That would actually be quite fun.
I'm going to write that down right now.
Because we need to do a Louise Penny book anyway.
Yes.
So we may as well do that.
I love that idea. Do you have any more thoughts?
On the book?
Yes.
I'm not even halfway through yet.
Oh boy. You had a lot of thoughts on that last half.
I have a lot of thoughts
Way
on that
more
last
than
half.
me.
I have issues with that last half.
Clearly. I was like, it's better than the first half, so.
I like a little bit of realism in my books and things to go wrong, because...
Yeah.
How are you supposed to identify with the character otherwise?
Yeah, that's true. This character was hard to identify with, because I was like, that is not... Okay, sure, she's homeless and she's sleeping under a tree for the first few chapters, but things just start to, like...
Everything goes right for her.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
And
not in my life.
I know she's got the history and all that, which we'll get into, but it's still... The industry she's trying to break into is notoriously difficult.
Mm-hmm.
There is countless stories of it not working out, even though people are perfectly talented. Just timing, just, some insignificant little thing derails the whole thing.
And I feel like country singers in Nashville are a dime a dozen.
Exactly. So, she keeps getting told that she's a dime a dozen, like, once. And then, from there on, everybody loves her. Like, for an industry that is difficult, at the best of times, everything's coming up roses for her.
Yeah. That would be a better title for the book.
That would be Everything Comes Up Roses. That'd be great. But it just doesn't, Yeah. Excellent with the words today. And she leaves the hospital less than 24 hours after following 4 stories. But then she hitchhikes. Despite the fact she has money, she could get a bus, something else, she hitchhikes. Which again brings me back to the Annie Lee and bagels are not a good combo. I don't understand the choices for the pacing at this stage, honestly, because she hitchhikes and there's not really a measure of time.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's kind of, a day and a half, something like that. But when Ethan follows her, it takes him like 3 days, and he's haggling over a truck for some unknown reason, because the guy has money.
Yeah.
He hands over $6,000 to buy some random guy's truck. Why doesn't he just go?
Yeah. I know. But he does seem to catch up with her awfully quickly also.
That's the thing.
Which I sort of thought was...
I just don't totally understand the choice of pacing there. Like, if they had put in a few things of her, taking a nap, or stopping here, stopping there, it would have flowed a little bit better, a little bit easier to keep up. Because I actually went back and went, wait, did I miss something?
Yeah.
Is he a day or two behind her, or did he get a late start? What? Yeah. Also, pet peeve with the police in this book. Not the police themselves. 3 attacks, being followed, jumps out a window, never tells the cops. She chooses to leave the hospital by herself without telling anybody. Yes, that we will call the police.
Well, at that point, she's definitely in danger because she had to jump out a window, so...
Yeah, but I just question their choices in regards to the danger she's supposedly in.
Let's just say there was a lot of poor choices in this book.
Yes. Very, very many poor choices. But yeah, she hitchhikes. She's, 20 miles, I think, from her destination? And she chooses to hitchhike with a clearly drunk hillbilly.
Yeah.
Again, terrible choices. Eat drunk. It's 20 miles. You slept under a bush before, sleep under a bush until a different car comes along.
Exactly.
Or it's 20 miles, you can walk that.
Yeah.
Why are you taking this chance for no reason I can comprehend? And then, she jumps out of a moving car. Again.
Yes.
She keeps jumping out of moving cars. I'm telling you, she needs to just be belted in because she cannot be trusted.
Yeah, chalk it up to poor choices all around in this book.
Completely and totally. When the character keeps making dumb decisions like that, and dumb decisions that are completely avoidable, there's stupid decisions where you're going, I can understand in the moment that, hypothetically, jumping off the balcony, if that was the only way you thought you'd get away from him,
Yeah. That could be a feasible decision.
It could be a feasible decision. Jumping out of a car that you should never have arguably gotten into to begin with.
The getting into the car was where where things went wrong.
And then, shocker of shockers, we find out that Annie Lee Keyes' real name is Rose Lacore.
Yes.
Because...
Who saw that coming?
I do want to know why she changed it.
They couldn't find her.
She set out to become a famous person. The second they see her face.
That's true. That's also true. I didn't really think about that.
She's running away from him, changes her name, and then sets out to be famous. Like,
such an idiot.
I'm sorry, I feel like I'm ruining this book for you, but every time I just go, but why?
No, that makes total sense what you're saying. That is absolutely true. Of course, if she's famous and her face is everywhere, they're gonna find her.
Exactly.
Unless she gets plastic surgery. Oh my goodness.
And it's not like the fame happened upon her. Like, it was her intent.
Why did I not put two and two together? Oh, I'm so dumb. Anyway.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
But yeah, then we find out that she's married but not married.
Yeah.
And that she has two sisters who are still with her abusive stepfather. And Ethan tracks them down, goes to visit them because he figures she might have gone there. They tell her she's probably at her husband's place, Gus, who's not her husband, but they think he's her husband. And then this is where I really got mad. Because he goes to this guy's place, climbs in through the window. Keep in mind, he has not knocked on the door. He has not done anything like that. Climbs in through the window, sees a guy in a recliner sleeping, and proceeds to beat the crap out of him. What the heck? He attacks a guy in his sleep, and shocker of shockers, it's not Gus.
It's the wrong guy.
It's Gus's friend Rick, which she finds out when Gus comes into the room, going, why the heck are you attacking my random friend? They try to make him a good guy. He is not a good guy. Like, he does no kind of recon, there's no intel, no, hey, do you have a picture of Gus, or, hey, are you Gus? And then hit him. Like, he just breaks into a guy's... It's breaking and entering an assault.
Like, why else would anybody be in that house, though? If we're being totally honest. It should be Gus who lives there.
He's never confirmed that Gus doesn't have anybody else living with him. There's no intel. That's the thing.
That was supposed to be a sarcastic comment.
Yes, I got that.
Okay. Again, they're a match made in heaven. Mm-hmm. Bad decisions all around.
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, they chose to marry each other in the end, so bad decisions all around.
Well, I think made for each other. Yeah, and then, like, she tells her story in, like, 2 chapters.
Mm-hmm. Which is basically...
5 pages.
Yeah.
Is what they give her at the police station. Oh, no, there's here more.
Like, they could have easily done a bit more work fleshing out the story part of, like, the reason why she's running away.
7 pages is what it gets in the end. Yeah, and then everything's wrapped up with a nice bow.
Yeah. Gist of it is basically what Clayton wasn't super great, and she wasn't allowed to go to public school after, I don't know, some age. She had to teach her sisters at home.
He beat her.
That's
her stepdad.
Stepdad, yep. She told him that she eloped with Gus in order to get out of the house. Gus wasn't super nice. I don't know, did Gus beat her? He did sell her to D. We don't get D's full name ever.
No,
just
D. Know a lot about D.
Who kept her and 2, 3 other women in a hotel room and just moved them from place to place. No indication of what really happened there beyond that. She escaped D. It's basically where the beginning of the book starts, when she climbs into the cab of the 18-wheeler that she then later shoots a gun through because aforementioned poor decision-making. But that's it. Yeah. Ethan says he loves her, and then we jump forward 9 months. There's no wrap-up of, like, okay, in the 9-month thing, they said that they built a case against D. No indication of how, considering, from what I understand, is basically her saying that he did. And she doesn't necessarily have his full name. Mm-hmm. And then they went and picked up D. Like, literally, it's like a 2-sentence thing. They built a case against D, and he was arrested.
Yeah.
We were assuming that the guys attacking her were D as well, and hired by him. But no indication of were they dealt with or charged, or
where did they come from?
Did they just disappear in a puff of smoke?
Yeah. But it also wasn't the guy who attacked her in Vegas somebody that she knew.
The guy that attacked her in Vegas was D.
That was D.
Okay. Yeah. All of his little henchmen before weren't D, as far as I understand. No mention of what happens to Gus for selling her, which, that's a violation.
Yeah.
No mention of anything happening to Clayton because of the abuse. Or, hey, now that you're a famous country music star, maybe get your little sisters out of the hovel that they're living in.
Yeah.
That might be a nice thing to do. Yep. Or, heck, how about some consequences for Ethan for assault and battery and poor life choices?
Breaking and entering.
Yeah. But no,
basically
she gets engaged and sings at the Country Music Awards.
Yes, of course, because...
Yay. Honestly. Final thoughts, Janine?
Well, not the worst book I've ever read.
No.
But also far from the best. I'm sorry, Dolly.
Yeah, Dolly. If you're listening to this, Dolly Parton, we'd like to meet you in person. And maybe don't write books with James Patterson.
Yeah, next time pick John Grisham.
Yeah, John Grisham would be better.
I feel like I'm sort of ambivalent about it.
It actively annoyed me in quite a few parts.
Yeah. I know, and I think I did a little better with the second half than you did.
See, my problem with the first half was I was bored.
Yeah.
And my problem with the second half is I'm going, seriously? Why do you keep making these choices?
It just became more and more outrageous.
Yeah. And the pacing didn't match with the choices that they were making.
No.
Everything kind of just went at the end.
I mean, I think we could also agree that maybe they need a better editor.
I think they need a meaner editor, yes.
Yes.
Someone who's not scared of their big names.
Yeah. Overall, meh.
I would not label it a thriller. I would not label it a mystery. I'd label it suspense if I'm being generous.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even label it a romance.
Rospense. Make up a new genre for it.
There you go.
Samantha.
You can't even class it as a romance.
Well, yeah.
He follows her around and they, hold hands once?
Yeah, and then they get engaged.
Because...
Of course they did.
Yeah, well, they're made for each other. But yeah, the characters I found were not believable. The Jack the manager. Jack the manager. He's about my favorite, I think.
Really?
He's my favorite character. Partially because he doesn't show up very much, and he was written slightly more accurately, I feel.
I like that bartender at the Cat's Paw, whose name I can't remember.
Billy.
He always had some good banter.
Billy was good. He could have done with being a little bit more crabby, because after he heard her sing for the first time, it's basically, I love you! And...
I mean, as far as characters go in this book, he was
one of the better ones, yeah. But yeah, my final take from the book is actually, just don't let Annie Lee in a moving vehicle. It's not a good idea. She'll shoot you, or try to shoot you, or shoot the vehicle, or just jump out while it's still moving, or grab the wheel. You just don't. Yeah. Just don't.
Yeah, she needs a chauffeur.
Yep. Alright, fun facts about the authors. Dolly Parton released her debut album in 1967 and has sold more than 100 million records worldwide, including 52 studio albums. In addition to the music, she has Dollywood Company, which includes Dollywood, Splash Country Water Park, and dinner theaters, and Begin the Imagination Library, and recently has developed a line of baking mixes with Duncan Hines.
So, James Patterson's books have sold over 400 million copies. He was the first person to sell 1 million ebooks, and his novels account for 1 in 17, or roughly 6%, of all hardcover novels sold in the U.S. He started the organization Read Kiddo Read to help parents and educators find the best books for their children after his son had issues with reading. So both authors, literacy is an important issue to both authors, which I think is really great. So for all of the things that you dislike about James Patterson, he does do stuff to help promote literacy, which...
Exactly, that's the thing.
Is a good thing.
They both have programs helping get books into kids' hands.
Yep.
And I'm all for that.
Yep.
As much as I'm not a huge fan of this book, and to be fair, I should probably read a couple other of his books. Because this is probably not the best measure of it. You can't fault the promoting literacy.
No.
You really can't. Yeah. Closing. This book wasn't to my taste, and I think that's been made abundantly clear. But yeah, it's not the worst book I've ever read. I have read worse books.
There you go. That's something.
Yep. That's my positive thing for the end of this. It's not the worst book I've ever read. But yeah, if you have read the book, let us know what you think, your impressions, because Please tell us we're wrong. Please point out the good things because we need to
Yes.
actually see them.
Tell us what you liked about it. For sure.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, Janine?
No.
Alright. Well, then we'll see you on the next page for the next podcast. Have fun, everybody.
Bye!